And is without a doubt the biggest game of its nature they've ever played, and they play it at Tottenham, for whom at some point this deep dark plot must take a turn for the better. Maybe now. Well, Tottenham's team sheet reflects a few of the subplots around these parts. Paul Robinson is still a week or so shy of proper fitness, so Ranak Cherney keeps goal. Michael Dawson, after a twitchy Monday night at Newcastle, is left out of the back four, and Anthony Gardner plays. Jermaine Jenas is not even in the 18. Tom Huddleston plays alongside skipper for the night, Didier Zokora. And up front, it's Berbatov and Defoe, who've only been paired from the start once before this season, and that was in the League Cup. Now, Getafe, whose domestic predicament is similar to Tottenham's, field what is a compromised team here. Only 6 of these 11 began their final league win of the season against Murcia on Sunday. Frenchman Franck Signorino is a debutant at left full back, and it's very much a second string front line here. Braulio and the young Uruguayan Juan Albi.
Just before kick-off, let's run through the 2 lineups one more time, and we'll start with our visitors this evening, Getafe.
Both sides having made uncertain starts to their domestic seasons, both in the bottom 3, neither overburdened with self-belief, both keen to demonstrate that they are better than is currently apparent, and Tottenham still with the crowd at their back, and that is key. And insofar as one is able to take the temperature, they are behind their coach, as no doubt Getafe's supporters are behind theirs. Michael Laudrup, one of the great footballers of the last quarter of the 20th century. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, Lazio, Danish Dynamite and all of that. And against him tonight, this man, Martin Jol, an extremely personable gentleman, nobody's fool, as tough as old boots. And if he believes he's a dead man walking, then he's making a very good job of hiding the fact. Politics in the club, led by the chairman, Daniel Levy. His are the ultimate decisions. Officials tonight are German and are led by referee Knut Kircher, who incidentally took charge last week of Scotland's game in Georgia. Spurs have only ever lost 1 home game out of 55 in major European competition, and last year's success when they won their first 8 UEFA Cup games in a row was largely fired by that man, Dimitar Berbatov, who is due take-off soon, and who, in common with the 10 around him, is demonstrating the sort of unity there which Tottenham will certainly need. Berbatov 7 goals in last year's UEFA Cup, the top scorer anywhere. Just 2 domestic goals to show for this season so far. Tottenham's record against Spanish teams in Europe is not good. So Jermaine Defoe, who also gets what is becoming a relatively rare chance tonight alongside Berbatov, will want to change that. And nothing cures a football club quite like winning a football match. And little over the years has cheered White Hart Lane quite like a stonking good European night. This place needs to find its smile again. David Pleat, what chance tonight?
Well, they have to get their game together, there's no question about that, Peter. The crowd will be demanding, particularly if they don't get an early goal. They'll know that Getafe aren't one of the top Spanish sides. If you looked at the huddle there, you'd suggest that they have spirit and unity. Now Martin Jol will hope that they show it on the field with an exhilarating performance.
And dispossessed by Signorino, the left full back. That is Nacho, who is another naturally left-sided player on the flank of the Getafe midfield. They've stayed broadly with the base of what you would consider to be their first 11, certainly at the back. But they fiddle with things up front. This is captain Belenguer. With the errant clearance. Most experienced player, 34 years old, well travelled within Spain. Getafe is his 7th Spanish club. The previous one was Real Betis. He has played at the top level of the Spanish domestic game for some while. Lee's throw. Malbrook. Chimbonda. And Huddleston. Well enough by Catadiac. This is Casquero. Tackle from Defoe. Still found its way out to the fullback Cortez. Casquero. Married by Huddleston. Casadiac is an Argentine centre-half. He's just arrived from Boca Juniors this summer. I watched him train last night and he reminded me faintly, in terms of the way he carried himself and in a certain manner, of Des Walker. He'll be well qualified to speak on that, David, as we watch India. Here is Cortez. Won by De La Red. Casquero. Cortez away from Malbrook. Shifted wide by Albin, the Uruguayan. It's Granero, and this is Malbrook tackling hungrily. And then running into De La Red. Albin. And Braulio! Journey is behind it well enough.
Rather poor challenge there by Zakora that gave Getafe that opportunity. Rather fragile challenge. Just sat up a little bit for Braulio.
Huddleston. Up in the air of Catadiac. Pursued by Defoe. And the Argentine got it back to his countryman in goal tonight. There's Diaz, behind him Oscar Uftari, who has won 1 international cap and deputises for Abondancieri, with whom you'll be more familiar, the full-time Argentine international keeper, who sits on the bench tonight. By Belenguer, by Lee. Here's Casquero. Catadia. De La Red. Granero. Cortez. On a few occasions in relatively recent history when the UEFA Cup has come to Tottenham's rescue with a relatively straightforward fixture, an easily winnable game, a game to get them out of a hole. But this sort of fixture doesn't fall into that sort of category. Here is Lennon, though, for Tottenham. And Huddleston. Taken away by Belenguer. This is Albin. Heading in the middle is Braulio. And Albin hung it up close enough to Czerny.
Nervous moment for the Spurs there, with Chimbonda slipping on that right-hand defensive side of the Tottenham defence. Just looking at the very early stages, I think it's so important for Tottenham that Huddlestone and Zakora get a firm grip in the midfield. They've got Lennon wide, he needs a supply of ball. I've seen him play wide where he's looked a little bit isolated at times if he doesn't get the passes. And Malbranque on the left, he will also want to supply. So Huddlestone and Zakora important.
Braulio taking on Gardner, who stood firm, having lost the ball further forward towards the halfway line and having had to retreat hurriedly. Signorino. Catadia. And deep it's De La Red, seen by Chimbonda. Huddleston was late with his challenge and is being ticked off by Herr Kirker.
Tottenham still to establish, I think, their best midfield. Janus, of course, sometimes plays erratically in that area. Tanio's a hard-working player. One of the problems that Martin Jol has to juggle with at this difficult time for him.
Adler's header away. Berbatov squeezing it for Lennon. By Signorino, down by Huddleston and through Malbronk. It didn't find Defoe. Huddleston can try and prompt again. Getafe, after a very disappointing start to the season, finally achieved their first La Liga win of the season on Sunday, beating Murcia, which was an uplift for Michael Laudrup and John Jensen there, who played in 4 North London derbies on this ground and actually won one of them, courtesy of a Paul Allen goal.
Berbatov giving away a cheap free kick there against Bellinger at the back.
In by Signorino. Running into trouble there for Tottenham was Kabul, and it's fired in by Granero, perilously close.
Well, Kabul seemed very lax on that ball. We've seen him play recently with Dawson. Of course, they've missed Ledley King very, very much. Here we see him messing around with that ball, trying to move the ball away from the Getafe forwards' feet. It was Nacho that got the ball back in, but Kabul, he must learn to defend first. All the other bits and pieces will come. Sometimes he forages upfield and forgets that he's a defender, he's a centre-half. Just make sure he defends properly.
For the sake of you who are screaming at your screens, I ought to correct a fact I gave you a moment ago about John Jensen, who of course lost a North London derby to a Paul Allen goal. He won a North London derby here, courtesy of an Ian Wright goal.
But did he score?
Once for Arsenal, against QPR, as everyone knows. Albin. Going crashing into the hoardings. And a young Frenchman for whom this is a big night. He's just arrived at the club in his first season since playing in the French League with Nantes. Look at him, he's spoiling the furniture. Away by Kabul. Berbatov. Wenger for Granero. He's giving Leo potential problem. Well sorted out by Malbronk. And hit early for Defoe.
Good defending by Malbronk. Lee was just caught for pace there a little bit against Granero. We'll have to see if the Spanish wide player gets confident and takes Lee on a little bit more. He certainly looked there as though he got a little pace, and terrific work by Malbronk to double back. Certainly not overawed, Getafe. I've seen 1 or 2 youth opponents here come here with a slightly negative attitude, feeling the crowd or the surroundings overawes them somewhat. We had disappointing games against Slavia and Bruges last year, Famagusta recently.
That's the point I'm making, David. It's no sort of a UEFA Cup gimme match, this, for Spurs, is it? This is a proper club from a major league. Berbatov has won it for Lennon. And Lennon has won himself a corner from Signorino.
Every game that Lennon starts is a big one for him, because he has to continue to make the impact that he sustained when he very first came here. Slightly gone back in the pecking order, had 1 or 2 injuries, and now there's another winger in another North London club doing well.
Gardner, Chimbonda forward, and Kabul, and Huddleston taking, and Gardner getting off the ground, likewise Chimbonda, but neither was able to synchronised jump with ball. Lee. Zakora. Aimed in at Berbatov. Belenguer did just enough, and Katadiaf cleared. Berbatov deemed to have fouled the Getafe captain anyway.
Good forward break by the Bulgarian. Knew exactly where he wanted that ball, but sound defending by Bellinger. Interesting that the Tottenham side only contains one natural left-footed player tonight, Anthony Gardner playing at left centre-back, Lee essentially a right-footed player playing at left-back, and Malbrank a right-footed player. And I think it's something, apart from leadership, which Andy and Robbie discussed early on.
Casquero. Open wide for Granero, and Lee has snuffed it out, at least momentarily.
Yeah, just to continue that point, they haven't really had the balance. Bale has given them that, and of course now he's out injured.
Saw Gareth Bale arrive at the ground on crutches tonight. Of course, they're also missing Asu Akoto, another candidate to play at left full-back. Absent injured, but here is Lennon. Berbatov wide, Defoe through the middle. And Lennon retaining possession very cleverly. Chimbonda, Berbatov. Tottenham's throw. Berbatov's cross. Huddleston and Defoe each failing to make contact, and Huddleston penalised anyway.
I just wondered there when that ball was returned on the right-hand side before the cross came in if there wasn't a suspicion of offside before the ball was crossed, but the German assistant seemed to be distracted.
We're out by Kabul. Lennon, Zakora. Eased off it by Albin.
Getafe playing a 4-4-2. Albin just dropped a little bit shorter than Braulio, the two front players, just as Berbatov possibly tonight will come off a little bit and leave Defoe as the main man. Although probably Defoe and Berbatov as a pairing is slightly different to Keane and Berbatov, where Keane does like coming deep as well as playing on the shoulder. Defoe likes playing up there all the time.
By Belenguer, back a little nervily by Malbrank. Dealt with okay by Cherney. Huddleston jumping with Dunareth. And Cortez turning out of a tightish corner.
Did well there, the fullback. Berbatov had cut the goalkeeper off intelligently, but Cortez was good enough to turn out and keep the ball in play.
That's a good tackle by Gardner. Zakora. Malbrank. Overhead for Berbatov. Ball's slide tackle only came to Casquero. And that's Braulio. And that's Granero. He has a reputation for a fearsome strike. He's a player, Granero, who is on loan to the junior Madrid club from Real Madrid, where he was struggling to get a sniff of first-team action. He played at under 10 level for Real Madrid, I read today, and scored 83 goals in the season. So they had an idea he was going to grow up to be a half-decent player.
I shouldn't think the opposition were too half-decent. Tottenham supporters, they'll be urging them forward. They feel they have to play at a tempo.
Malbrank, nice thought. One hates to say it on this ground, but those were the sorts of things that were working for Arsenal on Tuesday. And then more or less everything did. Cortez with the throw, seen by Huddleston, rolled in here for Defoe. Very good hands from the goalkeeper, who read it expertly and made clean contact. leaving Jermaine Defoe frustrated. He's hurt himself in making the save.
Huddleston does well here. Just got in front, nicks the ball. Bit of bright thinking by the Nottingham-born player. Goalkeeper did splendidly.
But Defoe quite inadvertently, there's no way this is a deliberate foul, I don't think. Gave him a clatter on the shoulder as he went through. And Oscar Ustari, the 21-year-old Argentine, requires a little bit of treatment. Jermaine Defoe, for whom starts have been rare-ish, has nevertheless a very good scoring record in the UEFA Cup. 7 games in this competition prior to tonight. He scored 5 goals.
Came on and lighted up the evening, of course, the last time we were here, with a magnificent blockbuster. As soon as he strode onto the pitch, I think it was the first or his second touch. Wonderful effort.
This is only his 3rd start of this season.
Clever play by Huddleston. Just a little nick past the last defender there, Bellinger.
The goalkeeper is suitably recovered. Granero. Braulio. Away from Gardner. Albin. The referee's pulled it back. Now, I don't think anybody's entirely satisfied with that. The Getafe players were happy to play advantage here.
And the referee should have been happy too, and in fact he should have let that move go until it broke down and then come back maybe and give Gardner a yellow card.
As it is, play stops for a free kick, over which is Juan Albin. Another left-footed player. Plenty of left-footers in the Getafe side. Albin is one of them. Header away by Berbatov. Granero. By Malbronk. Forward again from Cortez. Seen by Berbatov. Cushion for Malbronk. Hit early by Lee. Taken by Defoe. He's asked a bit of Lennon here. And Lennon can worry the right full-back this time, Cortez. Who got a piece of it, denying Berbatov a piece of it. And Catadiath got it clear.
A very good defending by Cortez. Lennon switching sides. Chimbonda now taking up the right-hand side.
Chimbonda to run at Signorino. Drove it against his arm. Still got a chance to deliver. And Berbatov's up. And Defoe is in. And Spurs are ahead. Reunited up front by Martignol. Berbatov and Defoe deliver for Martignol and Tottenham when most it was needed.
Well, Jermaine is suggesting there that he doesn't get many with his head. He shouldn't really draw attention to it. But he certainly is Johnny on the spot. And it was good play by Chimbomba. He saw Lennon come across the left. There was space on the right to get forward. Signori made a poor attempt in the first place, but when he drifted the ball high and deep, Berbatov did well to stretch. Defoe anticipates. That's his game.
This is his 3rd goal of the season. All of them have come in the UEFA Cup. Those against the visiting Cypriots some weeks ago were of a very different type to that. Nevertheless, for a striker, they all count, and that was a very well snaffled one, feeding significantly off the considerable efforts of Dimitar Berbatov. Lee. By Signorino. This is Nacho. Braulio's errant pass. Adam saw it coming. Chimbonda, who certainly had his part to play in the scoring of the goal as well.
Poor assistant again there, gave no help at all to the referee, who was looking to see who he should give that throw to.
De la Ref. Huddleston. From the left side, right-footed player Granero comes all the way across. And Granero all the way in. Whether De La Rez applied a touch or not, Czerny was left grasping at nothingness, and Spurs' lead was short-lived. Little emotion from Laudrup.
Slightly fortuitous goal, but it was a difficult ball, but the goalkeeper should have done better. He took his eye off the ball as De La Rez, one of the most promising Spanish players in the side, according to what we're hearing from the coaching staff before the game. He came in, he was also unsighted as the Cata Diaz, the number 3, came in. There's Martin showing the frustration as any coach would when an opposition replies so quickly to a good start by the home team.
My instinct is that De La Rez didn't get a touch, David. I don't know what you think. I'm inclined to give it to Granero, who took the free kick.
Yes, I mean, the goalkeeper certainly took his eye off the ball as it flew in. It's not the easiest ball to defend, that fast in-swinger, but with the 2 players coming behind the Tottenham line, I think the goalkeeper was distracted.
Unless anyone shows me evidence to the contrary, we'll assume it was a Granero equaliser. His second goal of the season, and his second in Europe, the first having been an absolutely critical extra time strike against Twente Enschede in the previous round. Now here is Lennon, looking to show a clean pair of heels to the retreating fullback Signorino. It's just a throw.
Nice play by Lennon, but Signorino did particularly well. It looked as though Lennon had got the run on him.
Cabell. Aimed in at Defoe and Berbatov! Offside, offside.
Well, it's the same assistant. I think he's correct this time. He was the guy who I thought was very slow to give an offside earlier on.
Torsten Schiffner is his name.
German. And as that ball comes in, I think we can see that he was correct.
Well, I'm not sure he was, David. Defoe was offside, but was Berbatov?
Well, Defoe was in a central position.
That's the argument. Did Defoe ever become properly active? Berbatov, I don't think, was offside.
Here we see it again.
Berbatov's onside.
Yeah, Berbatov is onside. Defoe is clearly offside. That's who he gives offside as the ball is played, because it looked as though Defoe was going to head the ball.
Well, it's a very grey area. So Berbatov will feel hard done by, because he scored the goal and he was the only one who touched the ball. I wish the offside rule could be simplified. Free kick has been given Tottenham's way, and Zakora goes marching out with it. Cortez seemed to me to catch it. The referee says he only took the ball. It's all getting a bit spicy now. Granero and Nacho.
Awful final ball there, but the referee, you hear the displeasure with his decision there, but in the first place gave Tottenham a free kick, which caught the Getafe players out. There's Chris Hughton still whistling away.
Well, it was Torsten Schiffner's call, and he certainly saw a player in an offside position. It wasn't Dimitar Berbatov. You have to decide for yourself whether Jermaine Defoe was significantly impacting on play there, and therefore was rightly called offside. Zakora. Berbatov. Lee. Zakora. Lennon. Chimbonda. Presented to Casquero. Made up early for Braulio. Nacho.
Not for the first time, the ball played in too early from the left before the forwards can get set at the first post and the second post for the cross. That time it was the newcomer, Signorino, from the left-back position.
Forward by Gardner, well won by Berbatov, but fell for De La Rez. Nacho. Casquero. Granero, the scorer of the Getafe equaliser, freakishly. Almost inadvertently. Berbatov, Defoe. Crashed into Catadia.
I like the way the full-back moves the ball, the right back. He's a sharp player.
Braulio. Tackle by Chimbonda, a little bit of afters involving Braulio. Each had hold of a bit of each other. Chimbonda's original touch was a really important one. Zakora. Malbronk did well. Defoe. Again, Katadiaf just slammed the door shut.
Interesting one there, Peter. The referee was going to blow, he put his whistle to his mouth, and then he had time to think about it, decided to let play go, but I think Defoe was caught in a sandwich.
Well, this is entirely different to any of the early season UEFA Cup games we've seen at this ground, either last season or this. There's real bite and competitiveness in this game. There's equality on both sides, which is often missing early on in this competition.
Yes, I think the reason probably is that Getafe are a comfortable side in possession. They're not frightened of accepting the ball.
Malbronk. Katadiaf did enough, albeit in an orthodox manner. Ball playing with fire and potentially getting burnt here. Huddleston put out the blaze. Cortes. Casquero. Down by Lee. Granero. Outstrides Gardner. Zakora.
Good spot by the referee, that one. De La Red getting in close to Zakora. They're not frightened to make it difficult for Tottenham. They get into the midfield and they work the Tottenham players when they have the ball. They've got a good work ethic. There's one thing getting behind the ball, but then there's another thing of knowing then to go and compete for the ball and try and regain possession. And they're doing it well at the moment.
Or for Berbatov. Granero. Gardner's touch fell at the feet of Albin. Then Huddleston away from Nacho.
A massive amount of confidence being given by the back players of Tottenham. Chimbonda looks a little bit reckless on occasions. Kabul looks, shall we say, lacking composure. Nothing to do with fire in his belly. I think it's to do with playing simply and straightforward and quickly rather than trying to be clever on the ball.
Another, it's flown past, nearly half an hour played. As Kabul got away with his slight indiscretions at the back. Spurs led briefly through Jermaine Defoe. Even since Granero's equaliser, they've had the ball in the net, but Berbatov's header was ruled offside. What was a debatable decision.
Berbatov there, just getting penalised. I think slightly unluckily.
And the gap between the two goals, 2 minutes and 4 seconds. That is how long Spurs led. Martignol, nearly 3 years in charge now, took over on the 8th of November 2004. 2 full seasons, he's finished 5th and 5th. And here is Defoe for him. Away from Katadiaf, Defoe, that's a very good challenge by the skipper, Belenguer. Defoe's cross, Signorino out of harm's way. And it will be a corner.
Katadiaf's had a difficult choice there. Rather clumsily pushed his right foot out as Defoe went round him. Defoe looks bright.
Huddleston's corner. Kabul was up. Granero with the clearance. Lee went to meet it. Malbronk has met it. Zakora was last man back. Chimbonda. A little shove from Granero, who glares at that German official, Schiffner.
Quite bravely kept two players up there, Getafe, when they were defending that corner. Left two up. Hoping for a quick counter-attack.
Chimbonda is being asked to move the ball closer to the touchline. Foul was very tight to the line on the far side there, the Tottenham right. They're still not happy with where Huddleston has the set piece prepared. He's going to let it go. Played in by Huddleston. And out by De La Red. Taken by Braulio and then wasted. Getafe's domestic season really peaks just 2 minutes in. They had a lead on the opening night inside 2 minutes at the home of the UEFA Cup winners Sevilla. That was Laudrup's first competitive game in charge, but later that night they had two players sent off. They lost 4-1 and they hadn't won a game since in La Liga until this weekend just gone. Quickly taken free kick away by Belenguer, chased up by Malbronk and stolen by Catadiath at the key moment. Here's Nacho.
Not a clever throw by Cherney. He's put Lee in trouble there. In his efforts or in his determination to get Tottenham moving quickly and throw the ball early, he gave Lee a difficult ball to control. He was being pressed by Granero.
He's had a couple of horrid moments, hasn't he, Radek Cherney, in this game? Obviously deputising for Paul Robinson, who the word is unlikely to be available for the weekend. He might just make next week's League Cup tie against Blackpool, but that's no certainty. And although he's not eligible for tonight's game, Spurs have recalled Ben Addick from a loan spell at Luton. Chimbonda.
Ball kick by the goalkeeper.
And Ledley King is someone of whom Martin Jol has spoken much over the last couple of days. How he yearns to have that man back at the heart of his defence, and he will be training again with the first team next week. Malbronk. Taken from him by Casquero. Made into a channel for Braulio.
Gardner's played with assurance so far, and very good at the back for Tottenham, the left centre-back. Been frustrated, been here a few seasons now since we signed him from Port Vale, and has had injuries, but whenever he's formed a partnership with Ledley King, they've been very, very promising at Premiership level. But now, of course, he has Dawson and Kabul and Rocha and other competitors, so he gets less games.
Well, this is the first UEFA Cup tie since Tottenham returned to Europe at the start of last season that hasn't had Michael Dawson starting it. Here's Lee.
Just the first hints of frustration by the knowledgeable crowd. Well, at least they say they are here.
Lee. Huddleston. Hurried up by Nacho. Chimbonda. Adventure from Chimbonda, perhaps foolhardiness. He ran into De La Red. He's a shot. Challenged kindly off the committed Zakora, and works out for Cherney.
Oh, poor throw by Cherney. I don't know what he's doing. That's the second poor throw in succession. Lennon had no chance of that ball, and sometimes you need to let your defenders get out and give yourself a little bit of time before delivering the ball. It's very rarely you can achieve something from the very quick kick, something that Robinson likes to do sometimes, and sometimes he's too ambitious to do it early, although he's a superb, accurate kicker.
Into the last 10 minutes of an eventful first half. On match day 1 of 5 in the UEFA Cup group stage. Each of 5 teams in the group plays 4 of those 5 nights. Here's Signorino. He's got himself a corner. Taker will be the Uruguayan Albin, making only his second start of the season in what is a rotated Getafe 11. Certain defending by Chimbonda, and it was lifted away from the byline by Berbatov.
Tottenham also leaving 2 upfield there, the diminutive Lennon and Defoe, probably sensibly, which kept 3 Getafe players back on the halfway line area. Martin Jol has said recently, after some criticism by a pundit, I believe, about their defending, that he's been working very hard at set plays, defending set plays, and working at them, so it must be particularly disappointing to lose the goal in the first half.
Zakora slung wide for Lennon, and Lennon's flashing ball to the near post, which required alertness of the young keeper.
Now Lennon tried to get it across the 6-yard. He did well, he made a good angle.
Huddleston. Berbatov pulling wide. Lee left it for Huddleston again. Drifted over the top towards Defoe, and importantly nudged away by Bellinger for another Tottenham corner.
Clever movement by Defoe, getting close to Bellinger and just pulling away, and Huddleston spots him and just tries to drift it over the top of the defender. Tottenham look a bigger side when they have these corner kicks. Can they exploit that? Gardner's tall, Berbatov.
Huddleston plays it in. And Gardner clambering at the back of De La Red. Matters little whether it's a goal kick or a free kick.
Not for the first time. Getafe have seemed to have held a Tottenham player off when they looked odds on in the air. 1 or 2 players who aren't jumping for the ball, but they're just standing and being resilient against the jumper, and as a consequence they're not able to get a good leap on the ball.
Met by Chimbonda. Couldn't make the most of it. Other teams in this group, by the way, Anderlecht and Hapoel Tel Aviv, who meet in Belgium tonight, and Aalborg of Denmark, who will be the next European visitors here to White Hart Lane in a month or so from now. Remember, last year Spurs absolutely romped to the top of their group, the reward for which is a tie against one of the third-place teams in the first knockout round. Here is Cortez, and a hit by Albin, who possibly had more time than he was aware of.
Well, the most important thing was they flashed 3 players forward very quickly. Here you see the ball get out to the right. Look at them, look at the anxiety to get in the box. And Tottenham are short of defenders.
Berbatov.
Somewhat cynical that by Bellinger.
Huddleston, out by De La Red. Cortez. Gardner's jarred himself in making that clearance left-footed. Seemed a harmless enough moment, being charged down as he was by Braulio. It's always landing, it's landing.
Left ankle.
Looks horrible. That looks horrible.
Not the luckiest of players, Anthony Gardner. When he was signed from Port Vale, he had problems with his groins. He was one of these boys that grew very quickly into the 6'4" mountain that he is. And we had to rest him. Indeed, he didn't play at all for the first 2 months that he came to Tottenham. But slowly got into his stride, and has been a credit really to his early apprenticeship at Port Vale. I've got a feeling that may see him leave the proceedings tonight, because he certainly went over on his ankle, and could easily be an opportunity for Dawson to show us what he can do at his best. Here we see the ball coming into... it's just the fall, and certainly went over on his left ankle.
Yeah, it's not one for the squeamish at all. Poor Anthony Gardner missed so much of last season's UEFA Cup adventure because of injury. Only played one game in that run at Braga in the last 16. And if that turns out to be as nasty as it looks, then it may be a while before he plays again. There is, as you saw, a natural replacement for Martin Jol, and there he is. It's Michael Dawson, who played every UEFA Cup tie last year, and indeed this until now, with various central defensive partners, Davenport and King, Gardner, Chimbonda, and at the start of this year, Kabul. So Gardner is going to be carried off here. Ricardo Rocha, the Portuguese, is another centre-half who's absent for Tottenham at the moment. But Michael Dawson, whilst he had a very twitchy night in the northeast on Monday, will be glad of an opportunity, an immediate opportunity, to set the record straight.
Well, Michael Dawson probably sit on the right-hand side of Kabul as central defence, and Kabul will play on the left-hand side. Shorn of a left-footed player now, Tottenham. Unusual to have 10 players who are more comfortable on their right side, not one natural left-footer. And I do believe it's been one of the reasons why Tottenham haven't done as well as some people would have thought. This lack of balance in the team.
Well, 90 seconds left in the half in theory, but there'll be a fair bit of stoppage time, you would have thought now. With the throw. Dularet aimed it at Nacho, who was offside. And a ripple of applause around the stadium is for poor Anthony Gardner, who just can't seem to get a run in the side. Poor fella, and who's turned his ankle nastily here. Huddleston.
Well, the crowd are giving him a little bit of abuse there, Huddleston, but he has tried to find that ball for Defoe on a couple of occasions. That time he was inaccurate and the crowd were restless, but it is a ploy that Tottenham look for when Defoe seeks to find that space past the last defender, and he's so sharp and he wants that ball, and Huddleston was trying to play in that ball.
Simply all the way round for Anthony Gardner. No luck at all. Just one more problem. He's not short of them. Dawson. Stolen on by Berbatov, and adeptly so. Here is Malbrook. scraped out as far as Zakora. And here's Huddleston. And here's Defoe! What a chance. It was a chance.
No, taken quickly on his left foot. He was offside at the start of that move, and when you see Huddleston play that ball through, I think there was a case for the team from Spain being a little bit disappointed had that gone in the goal.
He was certainly offside. And there'd have been a right royal row if that had gone in. Nevertheless, he might feel it should have gone in, and the flag did stay down.
It was nice to hear that ripple of applause for Anthony Gardner when he went off on a stretcher. I was listening to a chat show coming in tonight, and they were talking about a Tottenham player many years ago. When the stretcher came on, the crowd cheered.
Kabul. Went crashing into Braulio. He's kept his card in his pocket so far. Braulio felt the full force of a pretty hefty individual in Tom Huddleston. And this is almost certainly going to be the last set piece of the half. Albin. It was hauntingly similar to what happened earlier in the half when Getafe got their equaliser. It has been a most engaging half with many a talking point, not least Tottenham's.
Have clearly endeavoured to try and elicit a response, a clarification from the club while a match is going on. Obviously the club, as you could understand, are not offering any comment on that kind of conjecture, and it is in the manner of reports at this stage. It is not news, it is not official in any sense. The shake of the head from Daniel Levy perhaps indicative. Maybe people are starting to ask him the same question, but we will endeavour to find out what is or isn't the case. In the meantime, there's a match to finish. Spurs against Getafe, the players certainly are involved. 1-1. Let's rejoin David Pleat and Peter Drury.
Curiouser and curiouser. If Juan de Ramos is going to be the next manager of Tottenham Hotspur, he would certainly remember Getafe fondly. His Sevilla beat them in the Spanish Cup final at the end of last season. They started this season with a domestic La Liga game against Getafe. And it is possible that if Martin Jol is emerging here for his last 45 minutes as the manager of Tottenham, and I do say if, then Juan de Ramos will be picking up a UEFA Cup campaign off the back of this result against Getafe, engineered by Martin Jol. Said at the start, he's a very personable individual, but he is tough as old boots, and he won't let it show. He knows, and maybe he knows it's out. David Pleat, just give me your thoughts on what you're hearing.
Well, I don't want to talk too much about it. Groundhog Day, I've seen it before. Something similar happened to my own situation, probably not quite so public, but they told me something after it got out in the papers that Frank Arneson was coming here after I'd helped them get from 18th up the league. But that's a personal thing. I'm staggered, but there again, things in football do or shouldn't surprise you. And we don't know for sure, so it is speculation. And we should really concentrate on the game. All we know is that Berbatov's out there and he's not lost his shirt. He's leading the line with Defoe, and let's hope Tottenham can get a couple of goals this half or more and try and get some smiles around here.
And by the way, Getafe have changed their goalkeeper at half-time. You might remember Oscar Ustari right at the start of the game got clattered on the shoulder by Jermaine Defoe, and he has been replaced by Argentina's #1 keeper, Roberto Abondancieri. One of your images of him might well be, oddly enough, on a stretcher. He was stretchered off in the World Cup quarter-final against Germany after a challenge by Miroslav Klose on memorable afternoon in Berlin. But that's history, and what may be turning out one way or another to be a historic night in the history of Tottenham Hotspur. It's Tom Huddleston on the ball. On towards Lennon and out by Signorino. Chimbonda, Lennon, lovely take, lovely turn. Could come for Huddleston. And charged down by the outrushing De La Ref. Kabul. Chimbonda. Berbatov. Aimed it at Defoe, who couldn't apply the fancy touch. And who I think glanced over to see a flag anyway.
Yeah, good movement by Defoe across the line, but he was caught offside, and as soon as Berbatov delivered that ball, we had the flag. Well, it'll be interesting to see if Getafe retain their ambition. I thought they came here not overawed in any way, comfortable on the ball. Only Lennon and Defoe, possibly with their penetrating runs, caused them a problem in the first half.
Dawson's header out. Albronk's cushion. Huddleston forward. Defoe looking to turn. Albronk wide of him. Sakura wanting it early. Katadiath across to meet him.
He's doing quite well, your man Katadiath, Peter. That impressed you in training last night. You must have a good eye for a player.
Get away with it. Here's Lee. And very well to get around the opposite full-back. But then he left a little bit in. And left Belenguer on the floor.
Another disadvantage of the right-footed full-back, really, that from the left-back position, that he can't get that ball earlier in with his left foot, and he has to come and play intricately, try and get along the byline or wheedle his way through on his right side, and it can be a disadvantage.
Signorino. Dawson. Nacho. Signorino. Casquero. Forward by Belenguer, held up by Granero. Cortés. This is Albin, and it's deflected off Dawson and gone behind for a corner.
Not wildly ambitious, but did have some pace to it. Saw the space and decided to have a crack. Dawson bravely got in the way. Tottenham 2 up the field. Getafe 3 back marking them.
And Granero with the corner. There's plenty going on in the mix. And Knut Kierke has picked out a couple of individuals for special attention here. Dawson is the Spurs player involved. It's De La Ref for Getafe. Rather bitty start to the second half. Granero's delivery. De La Ref was the player to attack it, and Zakora is the player to emerge with it, with Defoe well upfield and Lennon wide and Malbronk arriving, and then a fairly cynical pull back at Zakora by the desperate Juan Albin. And even as we watch this replay of Zakora being fouled by Albin, Tottenham have a player injured. Yellow card has been shown to Albin. Tottenham have Huddleston down in a pile inside the penalty area.
Well, that was certainly a yellow card offence, no question about that. Very cynical challenge.
Was the cause of Huddlestone's injury. He fell awkwardly and was sandwiched as he fell. Tottenham broke off the back of that, and but for Albion's challenge on Zakora, might have had a direct route to goal. As it is, they have this free kick, which Zakora will take. They're a man short at the moment. Huddlestone is having to hobble off before presumably hobbling back on. Reth with the header away. Down by Braulio. Steered out wide for... played behind Berbatov. And set back for Malbron. That's a very good save by Abondancieri. And Lennon once more. And Berbatov! Mighty, mighty close.
Great ball in by Lennon. Wonderful opportunity for Berbatov. And just preceding that, a super save from Malbrank by the goalkeeper. Berbatov sets it up beautifully for Malbrank. Good block away, forcing the ball away from the centre of the goal. And here was that super cross, climbing header. Quite a start for the goalkeeper.
Thundered forward by Dawson, and Abondancieri has come out, and Berbatov is claiming again, it's I think a similar story to that which surrounded the disallowed goal in the first half. Berbatov is claiming that he personally was coming from an onside position there. Interesting to see whether he has a case.
Well, it's very different really to the first goal because...
well, he was onside. Berbatov was onside, I think.
He was onside. In fact, without prejudice, I agree with Andy Townsend incidentally at half-time. And he suggested that in that situation the assistant was correct to give his flag.
If I might say so though, David, it's preposterous that there should be a debate at all. Can we not have a rule that says you're either offside or you're not offside? It shouldn't be an argument, should it? Here's Lee. Defoe. Malbronk. Berbatov, lovely thought. But hoofed away by Nacho. Chimbonda. Tottenham picking it up a bit now. In by Lennon. Catadiath got a piece of it. Berbatov competing. It's come out again for Lennon. Signorino, and then Catadiath with a lucky bounce back to Abondancieri.
Much better from Tottenham. Pacier, more purposeful. And the crowd responds. Lennon, the instigator.
Martignon reports, if you're just joining us, that he's heading towards his last half hour as the Tottenham manager. Unconfirmed reports to which the club are not formally responding in the person of Daniel Levy, the chairman, or indeed any of his spokesmen at this stage. And if it is the end for Martignon, then he'll be able to reflect, and I know, David, it's hard in a way for you to comment here because you've been part of the story, but he can reflect on having taken Tottenham to their highest league positions since the first time round, a long, long time. He can reflect on being the manager who's taken Tottenham into Europe twice in a row by their league position, the first Spurs manager ever to achieve that, and he can wonder why it all went wrong.
Yeah, it's quite right. Fifth, 2 consecutive years, or consecutive years, is a real achievement. I will say that in the late 80s, of course, English teams were banned from Europe, but Tottenham certainly would have qualified by their league position. They were third.
Berbatov. Offside, and the goalkeeper had it snuffed out anyway. Still considerable uplift inside White Hart Lane. There's every reason to feel that the crowd is still with the team and with the manager. Here's Nacho with an unthreatening strike. They always love a European night down the lane, and There's no feel of doom, gloom, or end of an era.
Getafe ignored a good position there. Casquero was square with the shooter and should have had a pass. Temptation to run with the ball, Kabul, whenever he gets it, and I'd like my centre-half to give the ball quicker and just then go forward and then drop off again. Here he goes. He loves to run with this ball. I just think it's a real downside in Tottenham's team at this moment. They want two centre-halves who are really strong and defend and sit in there until they get these results going.
It was a foul by Granero, and Tottenham have a free kick in just about the same spot from which Granero scored Getafe's first-half equaliser. Whether Huddleston has something similar in mind. It is in by Huddleston, and it's an authoritative take by Abondancieri. Not so authoritative was Nacho, who's lost it to Lennon. And the goalkeeper has to claim again.
Very good take.
Casquero. Towards Braulio by Albin.
No movement from the substitutes bench, particularly Peter, which I think is always a good sign for Tottenham. It means that Martingale is happy with the improved pace of the game that his team are playing.
Casquero. Albin. That's a smashing ball for Braulio. Dawson read the back heel. It came back to Granero. Now the fullback Cortez, and in goes Albin, and Cherney claws it away. Ball had gone behind.
Clever play, good interchanging, good movement.
The song is "Stand Up for Martignol." They are singing the manager's name. There's no question that the news has got round the stadium here. They're certainly hearing what we're hearing and what we're reporting. Martignol has the backing of White Hart Lane. He may not have the job at White Hart Lane by the end of the evening, we'll see. Here's Defoe.
That's the man with dynamite in his boots. He can really whip him in from that area. Terrific quick ankle action Defoe's got. No backlift. Makes an angle. Quick as a flash, he can get his shot in, and the goalkeepers sometimes don't get a chance to set themselves.
It's a very good header from Chimbonda. And here's Defoe again. And inside of him, he'll settle for the corner. It's got to be Huddleston. By Casquero. Before the throw, a change for Getafe. The Casquero is being taken out of central midfield. And his like-for-like replacement is Francisco Sosa in his second year at the club since moving from Valladolid. The two players who were sent off at Seville on the opening day of the season, but who has been playing for the most part in Michael Laudrup's first 11. Chimbonda. Lennon. Chimbonda.
Not the best service from the Tottenham right back, Chimbonda. All he does is need to give it to Lennon and let him make progress down the flank and get those crosses in. Last thing Lennon wants is for him to come and carry the ball and not give it early to him. Just closes his space. Usually around this time, Peter, you know, half an hour to go, locked at 1-1, you would have thought that there might be some movement from the Tottenham bench. That's the thing that's surprising me a little bit at the moment. And another interesting aspect, and you're always looking for little signs. Martin often stands on his own, solitary figure in the technical area. I haven't seen him get off his seat tonight once. Come on, Martin, jump up. The crowd are behind you.
Very much behind him. Mind the chairman's behind him as well.
And of course, if you do hear that you may not be here, if you do hear that, whether it's gossip or whatever, you do tend to lose that little bit of heart and enthusiasm, whatever anyone may say to you.
Yeah, he's a human being, for goodness sake. He's entitled to be a little absent-minded if he's finding out he's losing his job. Here's Dawson. And it's very, very hard, really, to keep one's mind on the football match and to keep things in the regular context of the UEFA Cup, the competition that they're playing in, which gave them so much pleasure last year. It's a foul on Lee by Granero.
Still looking for a really top performance, aren't we, from Berbatov tonight?
Nacho's ball forward. Braulio, away by Kabul, hit by Signorino! With his wrong foot. That was a pretty zestful strike, right-footed from the left full-back.
He was a swinger, really. I'm not sure how confident he was when he hit that ball. Very similar physically to the winger that played, a Danish winger incidentally, Gronshire, who played at Chelsea. Runs very similarly to him and plays on the wing too. Here he is on the ball now.
Alston caught by Sosa. And just on the field, Francisco Sosa. Hudson has spent a lot of time on the ground in the second half. 20 minutes of which have elapsed without any addition to the scoreline, but with considerable addition to the plot line.
Well, if Tottenham don't get a goal, I think within the next 15 minutes, I'm sure Robbie Keane is going to be going to have to come on, because whatever the circumstances and whatever the gossip here is tonight, they need to win this game, and we know Robbie Keane can unpick the lock.
In by Huddleston and Berbatov. A little lame this time.
Not quite running for the big man. Certainly got an edge in the air, Berbatov, when the ball does come into the centre. I think it's a ploy Tottenham must persist with. If they can get Lennon free and get one or two crosses in deep. Caused the first goal, didn't it, from Chimbomba's cross, and he's already had two headers this half. One he should have scored. Whether that was a more difficult chance just now is difficult to tell from this angle.
Malbranc over the top for Berbatov, who is onside and who has Defoe waiting. It still could come through to Lennon, but it's steered away by Bellinger. Nacho. Sosa. Nacho. On by De La Ref. Granero. Rolled in towards Braulio, protected by Dawson. And lead charge down. You're so right, David, to indicate that Spurs need to win this game. Not, I think, because they'll struggle in this group. You'd surely back them to finish in the first three, but because the draw has become that most haunting result. Defoe offside, just a yard inside the opposition half. Martignol was right to point out, going into this game, that just see what Nacho does here. Dawson stops him in his tracks and Zakora gets it away. Until Monday night at Newcastle, Spurs were actually 6 unbeaten. But they had a draw at Bolton, a draw with Villa, a draw in the second leg against Anorthosis, a draw from a winning position at Liverpool. If they'd won those games, we may not be having these conversations.
There's a poem, wasn't there, called If?
By Lennon on Nacho. His pardon, Chimbonda was the offender. And a quarter of the game remains. There's a sense around the place that the story will only begin when the game ends. Granero. Hoisted by Sosa.
Great dribbling skills, Malbranque. Very good at running with the ball, but I don't really believe he's been an influence here like he was at Fulham. Still relatively young. I really do believe he likes to play central, where he can pick up the ball and make things happen, where he's got targets either side of him. He's not really a running winger.
Oh, that back pass has lit up Berbatov's eyes. Katadiath saw the danger. Sosa. Cortez and Braulio! And Spurs are behind in Europe at the Lane.
It was a superb goal. The attention will be focused on individual people here, but that was a superb goal, and we must give Getafe full credit for that. They destroyed Spurs with that move. It was brilliant, and the substitute Sosa was so important in that move. The clever pass forward, the perfectly ball. I think it was Dawson that was caught on the defending there, but brilliantly taken. What a bit of improvisation.
And if this is farewell for Martignol, it is not the valedictory football match he might have had in mind. His team led here, they trail here. The chairman, with whom he dined only this week, looks out impassively, knowing more than most, and Martignol goes to his hand and picks out the trump card. Robbie Keane will be with us shortly. Martignol may not be with us shortly. Daniel Levy had a whisper in his ear from somebody. I think it was Paul Kemsley, wasn't it? The outgoing director.
The outgoing vice-chairman of the club, sitting behind the chairman. There he is in his white anorak, just on the phone. Damien and Kamoli just sitting in front of him there. Director of football.
Well, here comes Keane. He has scored 7 goals in his last 7 games. He is the Tottenham player who, through it all, has been operating at top notch. And boy, they need him now. Remember Spurs, I mentioned it at the start, Spurs have only ever lost once at home in Europe, in 55 games here in major European competition. It was a quarter-final here against Real Madrid in 1985, a Steve Perryman own goal. Once in 55, they're behind again to Spanish opponents. In by Huddleston, over by Dawson.
Well, they've got to get tight to Robbie Keane because he's an elusive player, he's a fine player, rarely injured, does brilliantly for the Republic of Ireland and has done wonderfully well for Tottenham in his period here. Tanio to be introduced, the workaholic. Has he got the ability to craft something? That's what Tottenham need at the moment.
Berbatov, Huddleston. Slung up against Defoe. An impatience and uncertainty inside White Hart Lane, a twitchiness in the crowd, and indeed on the field. There's no question from the response inside the ground. There's no question that they came to praise Caesar, not to bury him. They were with Martin Jol.
Sikora off, Tanio on.
And Tanio on in his place. Sikora began the evening as the skipper. That duty now moves on to the recently introduced Robbie Keane.
Most important thing here is that Tottenham keep some shape, and it's often difficult with Robbie Keane on the left because he likes to go seeking the ball and wandering. But he's taken that position, he's in Malbrank's position, Tanio's central to Sikora, so hopefully it won't disturb Tottenham too much. Berbatov and Defoe, Keane, you would have thought they can conjure a goal between them. It'd be very disappointing if they're unable to do that.
So 1 in 4 substitution and 2 changes out of choice from Martin Jol. He has made his last tactical move, possibly his very last tactical move as the manager of Tottenham. Albin. Important touch from Huddleston. Cherney being urged to do things in a hurry. On by Berbatov. Out by Belenguer, down by Tanio. Berbatov. Belenguer again in the way.
Big problem for Tottenham is if Tanio starts pushing too far forward here, and Huddleston too, and you can understand their determination to get forward and support, they just could leave themselves exposed to the counter-attack, because this team has shown ambition.
Berbatov tackling hard. Lennon profiting. Keane. Lee. It's broken for Albin, and Spurs are well committed forward here. Nacho. Granero. Taken back by Keane, who's broken through the challenge of Sosa. And what a throw, has he? Before which another change. Granero, who claimed the first half goal direct from what he intended to be an indirect free kick, is being replaced here by Mario Cotello. Heaved in by Huddleston, up in the air by Catadia. Huddleston through the crowd.
Well taken. Neat play by the tall, strong midfield player. Trapped the ball beautifully, took it on. Lovely bit of skill by Huddleston, just wanted a nice drive into the top corner. Simply.
Nacho can't take it, Chimbonda will. To Larred. Cotello with fresh legs. But without much of a delivery, and Tanio took it comfortably. Now Keane really has to galvanise Tottenham here. He has to lead. Berbatov. Huddleston, lovely touch from Lennon. Huddleston blundering through, Berbatov getting up. And Belenguer away. Dawson back in. Away as far as Kabul. Tainio, Huddleston. Threaded towards Keane and Defoe. And Berbatov. Cries of handball against Katadia. Keane is appealing most loudly. Referee saw nothing.
Tottenham must keep this ball rolling, keep flowing.
Kabul.
Classic mistake, Peter. Kabul, centre-half, running forward without thought. All he's got to do is just give the ball early.
Dawson has to do the job himself. Huddleston was sitting to receive and played over the top for Defoe! Scraped away by Katadia.
Well, I'll give you great credit there, Peter. He said to me before the game he has shades of Des Walker. That defender, look at that for recovery. Terrific speed, Argentinian. Very good.
He threw out an arm there, Katadia, didn't he? I think it would have been a sharp spot for the referee. Corner's a deep one, and the miss-hit was an ugly one. Back in by Huddleston. Katadia away, spoon back in by Lennon. And one for Berbatov. And driven against Katadia again. Huddleston and Dawson competing. And set up for Kabul. And they just can't force a way through.
Well, Kabul it was up there, trying to force that goal. He did it against Aston Villa. It was a great challenge. Was it De La Red?
Keane's corner. Abondancieri up in the air. And Katadia away. Just more than 10 minutes to go. Spurs could do with a point here. They could really do with a win here. Berbatov. Away by De La Red, forward again by Tainio. Oh, terrible miss kick by Cotello. And Defoe is beaten to it by Abondancieri.
Tremendously exciting, but so frustrating.
Albin. Wide by Braulio. In by Signorino. It's come out here to Cotello. And a deflection, that lash across goal.
Well, he's had one or two touches, Cotello, since he's been on the field, and I'm not sure which was the most awful.
You're fired. Isn't that the phrase? From the apprentice. Mr. Kingsley there behind Mr. Levy. Has a part in that show. Will he walk? Is he being pushed? Or is it just one wild rumour too far? Huddleston. Dawson. Chimbonda. Huddleston. Keane. Huddleston. Aimlessly away by De La Red. Getafe giving the impression now of a team just having to cling on.
I think he thought that Bellinger needed a treatment, and that's why he dispatched that ball over the touchline. They certainly need to draw breath because they're coming under great pressure, but they are defending resolutely. They're throwing bodies in the way at every opportunity. Now we see the defender Bellinger making a meal of that nick against Huddleston. Have Tottenham made enough chances tonight? That's something you also have to look at. We've had the chances maybe for Berbatov too in this second half, a disputed possible offside decision in the first half. Defoe's had one cracker of an attempt this half.
And there was the Melbrank shot as well, wasn't there, which Abondancieri saved.
A brilliant save. So, you know, had they had enough attempts? Very difficult. Have they played well enough? Another question for Andy Townsend and Robbie Earle, maybe.
Costello. Must be sorted out by Kabul. Huddleston. On by Lee. Tainio. Good turn of pace. Berbatov wide of it. It's Berbatov's cross beyond Defoe. Out by Katadiath. Huddleston swung at it wildly. Dawson, Tainio. Berbatov. Dawson had to make that first. Kabul's got a lucky break there and could trouble the fullback.
Tottenham playing with one centre-half now, just Dawson. Chimbomba and Lee have pushed in. Kabul is playing as he wants to play, right forward now, adding some physical, muscular strength to the Tottenham front line. But one of the problems is that they're all crowding each other. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it fails.
Berbatov, Keane, Chimbomba. Was he caught? No, he wasn't, says the referee. Nacho, the potential offender. Big call by Knut Kircher. Was there contact? I'm not sure there was. The German may have got that right.
Absolutely right.
In by Dawson. Katadiath got some of it. A cross goal by Kabul. Nacho taken from him by Chimbomba, who had no case for a penalty. Lennon. Chimbomba. Hoisted in by Dawson. Out by Cortes. Tainio. Abondancieri is behind it.
Very able substitute, the goalkeeper, this half. He's handled very well. He'll have to give some calm to his defenders at this moment. He's kicked that ball beautifully out to wide right.
Nacho. Squeezed out to Braulio. Header away by Kabul. Costello. Cortes. Goalkeeper has it. And Spurs have to attack. Last 5 minutes now. Lennon. Away from De La Rez. What a noise inside White Hart Lane. Scooped over the top by Huddleston. Abondancieri's lost it, and Katadiath is there again. Single-handedly digging them out time after time. Foul on Dawson. That's the man. That is the man who stands in Tottenham's way.
Off spin.
Out of the rough.
Out the back of his hand.
4.5 minutes to go, and I can confirm it will be the last 4.5 minutes of the All Rain. Huddleston in, header against the post, in goes Defoe, Abondancieri goes down, Defoe goes down, referee is going to have to come between them. Goodness knows what his decision is. First of all, he has to sort out a spat between Tottenham's centre forward and Getafe's replacement goalkeeper, who felt Defoe gave him an unwarranted kick. Defoe's been booked. Abondancieri has been booked.
But that's all to Getafe's benefit, because it just takes the pressure off them. It takes the side of it there. We see it. It was a little push by the goalkeeper. He thought Defoe had put his foot up into his legs, but Defoe was going for the ball. Here we see the incident perfectly shown. Whoa, Defoe's got to be... I think Defoe's put his head into his chest there. I think Jermaine's a little bit lucky.
A booking each, and breaking news. Martin Jol tendered his resignation to the Tottenham board before kick-off tonight. We can confirm that. Martin Jol did tender his resignation, and it has been accepted by Daniel Levy, the chairman, and the Spurs board. We are inside the last 5 minutes less of Martin Jol's reign as the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. He took over on the 8th of November 2004 and has lasted a little less than 3 years here. Here is Lennon to try and finish it with style. Chimbonda. Berbatov, his really big acquisition. Defoe behind for a goal kick.
Well, very sad news. Managers are given little time. They're put under tremendous media and supporter pressure and hype when things don't go well. 2 splendid seasons. Came here really as a third man to Santini and his assistant. Emerged to take the team when Santini's relationship failed with the chairman. And now it looks as though Martin has done the, I'd almost say, honourable thing in view of the terrible circumstances and pressure he was placed under when it was revealed that Tottenham went to Sevilla to speak to another manager who was already in a job.
Oh, I feel considerable sympathy for him. I think from a human point of view, you can't help but feel that, whatever the politics, whatever has gone on behind the scenes, he clearly felt hugely undermined, rightly or wrongly.
Yes, you're quite right, but there is always 2 sides to the story. The only side, of course, that the public see is the results, and that in the end is the barometer that everyone judges people by. Another bad foul, it looks, over on that far side, late.
And you could hear the squeal as Kabul went in. Cortez on the receiving end. Oh, that is a very bad foul by Yunus Kabul.
Should be a red. Should be red. It's over the ball, and we know that in Europe the referees tend to be a shade harsher, more harsh.
In Europe, Asia or Australasia, that was a terrible, terrible tackle.
Yeah, even Hackney Marshes. Off. They're going to be playing with a man short for these last few minutes.
And this support has nothing to do with the match. It has to do with the evening's major story. This is support for Martin Jol. These are Tottenham supporters who have approved of his reign. The UEFA Cup, which so often last season was his means of release and relief, is turning out to be his farewell competition. And the chairman, gazing down at these fans, must look and wonder. The paying customers were happy with the regime. And at least those in here tonight, on the whole.
Yeah, and another thing that I'd like to say on Martin Jol's behalf, they've just produced some terrific financial figures, even though they've supported Martin Jol and given him money for players, by producing a team that was successful last year, relatively successful, and the year before. It's helped produce those excellent commercial figures. Martin will be philosophical. He knows the game. He told me the other week that he was more harmed by criticism of some of his tactics by people who he didn't respect, rather than the gossip.
Well, Defoe's in a bit of nose-to-nose business here, this time with the captain Belenguer. This is going to be a fabulous result, by the way, for Getafe, their biggest European game ever, only the 3rd they've played. But all of that is lost amidst the major plot line of the night. Here's Defoe, looking to give it a final twist, but penalised.
Interesting to see what the plans are for the staff and see if there's a caretaker, and they like caretakers here, or whether they're going to go immediately and get their replacement. Most cynics would say that it's all been done. There's Chris Hughton, loyal servant.
He's served under several managers, seems to be the ever-present at Tottenham. Kabul surging forward from centre-half, perhaps one last time. Lennon. It's a corner. 2 minutes of 4 have been played after the 90. Huddleston's corner, stolen away from Berbatov, up in the air by Chimbonda, and gathered in by Abondancieri. Braulio's brilliant finish is the difference between the sides. Let that not be forgotten. It's going to leave Tottenham the group to chase, with the matches against Hapoel Tel Aviv and Anderlecht away from home, and in a month or so's time under new management against Aalborg of Denmark. But they will chase it no longer under the leadership of Martin Jol. Forward by Huddleston, on by Kabul, kept alive by Keane. In went Lennon, came out to Berbatov, came out to Chimbonda. A minute and 5 seconds for Tottenham to find an equaliser in a frenzied, emotional atmosphere inside White Hart Lane. It feels pretty raw in here right now. And I'm sure these Spurs players would love to get one more for their boss. Up gets Berbatov. Up higher got De La Reth. Kabul leading against Cotello. Chance for Tainio to coil himself up and throw long. It's now or never. It's looking like never. It's going to be adieu and not au revoir. Daniel Levy next to Monsieur Comoli, and Martin Jol thinking what his next life move may be. Farewell, Martin Jol. They came to praise you, and you were buried. His reign as manager under Daniel Levy at Tottenham Hotspur ends after very nearly 3 years in charge, 3 broadly successful years. It ends in defeat in the UEFA Cup, a competition which served him so well. But he disappears out of sight now under the gaze of a chairman. And David Pleat, it seems appropriate on this occasion to get a final word from you.
Sad night for Tottenham. Loyal supporters cheering the team to the end.